Lamin, Yamal, cada día te quiero más. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video, and in this video I am bringing back a very old series that I did occasionally. So if you are an OG of the channel, you will remember it is analyzing Spanish newspapers and what they are saying. Obviously, with Spain winning the Euros last night, I thought that it was the perfect time to bring this series back. So I've got two newspapers for you, and I'm going to rope you into what the Spanish newspapers are saying about that massive win. I'm of course over the moon about it. I know a lot of my following supports England, so I'm very sorry. Let me know what you guys thought of the game as well in the comments down below. But right now, let's get into this video. So the first newspaper that I have is Marca. I always go for this one. This is more of a sports newspaper, and right off the bat I thought it was really interesting how on the cover it says it's only the beginning, like purposefully in English, because this newspaper is always in Spanish. It's a Spanish newspaper, so I thought that that was interesting that they put the title in English. Then when you open the newspaper, you kind of have like this thing, and this bit pops out, and again it says it's only the beginning. So if I take this off, and then I would have to like open this again so you can see the full back, and I thought that that was interesting that it had like two full covers. It says La Armada Invencible, which is like, Armada is like something to do with military, so like the invincible, well, not military, but you guys get the drift. And it's a really cool photo of Spain celebrating their win. And just here, just to translate this bit, because I think like the titles are probably the best part to translate. España wins its fourth Eurocopa, or like European Cup, in a vibrant final against England. So yeah. And then again, I open it, and another photo celebrating. There's going to be a lot of photos celebrating, obviously, but you can just see how this whole newspaper is with the win. Something that I thought was interesting was right here, how it has the ratings for all of the players. So I'll just read some of them out for you. I was surprised that Lamine Yamal, he has 2 stars, and he got an assist, and I thought that he was one of Spain's best players. He got 2 stars. Cucurella got 3 stars. If any Chelsea fans are interested in how he did, Nico Williams got 3 stars, obviously scored the goal. De La Fuente, the manager of the Spanish national team, got 4 stars. Southgate got 2 stars. And then the highest rated player of England was Cole Palmer with 3 stars, which I think is absolutely insane that he played as few minutes as he did and had the impact that he did in this tournament. It just goes to show you how good Cole Palmer is and how he probably should have been starting, even though I know that England is absolutely stacked in the attack with these amazing players. Harry Kane didn't even get a star. But you can see, like, maybe this is a bit biased, but you can see here that like the Spanish team got a lot of 3 stars in here and the English team not so much. I think that is probably a little bit harsh. I did think that England played well in this game. I think they played similar to how they played the entire tournament, which was going behind, then once they went behind, that's when they kind of like upped the ante. They equalized, and then they sat back, which I didn't think made sense, because at that point I felt like the momentum was in England's favor and they could have gone on to win the game. So here at the front it just says it's like the 4th marvelous one. My translation really isn't good, but I promise I know Spanish. But basically, like, it's marvelous because they have won 4 Euros, and this just goes into talking about like the style that Spain had, and how it combined youth and experience, and how they really worked together as a team. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing here. On this page, it goes into just like a big analysis of the game. I'm not going to recap any of that for you. Then you turn the page, and I thought that this bit was really interesting because it says, Somos los mejores y vamos a mejorar todavía. So we are the best, but we're still going to continue to get better. And I think that that's just shows the mentality. Like, this team is already talking about the World Cup in 2026 and how that's their next focus, even though they've just won the Euros and it's a very young team. Obviously, you have Lamine Yamal, who just turned 17. You have Nico Williams in there. Rodri will still be in his prime. He's 28 now, so for the World Cup he'll be 30. So you have a lot of a really young, talented core, and I think that that core was really key for this Euros win as well. And then this article just goes into how they want to continue making history. Like I said, it has some quotes from a couple of players. There was a nice one from Cucurella that I wanted to read out. It said, at the beginning we were players and now we're a family, and I felt like you could really see that, and that was like the key difference between Spain and a lot of the other teams that they faced, not just England, was that Spain really did play like a team. You could argue that on paper England have better players than Spain did, but Spain played like a unit, and so I think that was one of the key differences as well. And this one just goes into depth about Oyarzabal, who obviously scored the winner late into the game from the assist from Cucurella. He said, I saw Cucurella running, I like went for the ball, I hit it, and then I saw the ball in the back of the net. So that's basically what he remembers from scoring that goal. And then the last bit that I wanted to show you from this newspaper was that it did have a feature on Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, who were two of the standout players in this tournament. Obviously two very young players, and they combined for many of Spain's goals. And it just goes on to talk about how they became like two really world-renowned players through this tournament, and that they've really shown in this game, even though that they were young and maybe had a lot of pressure on them. So I thought that that was super cool because those were two of the players that I really enjoyed watching in this tournament. And next I have El País. You guys might know El País. It's a super like world-known newspaper, at least I think it is. And this is just like a newspaper. It's not a sports paper or anything like that. You're going to find all types of news in here, so it wasn't as heavy, but I thought that it was interesting to show the comparison. And obviously you can see on the first page here, España reina en Europa, and that means that Spain reigns in Europe, which is pretty cool. I always have a hard time with the R's in Spanish, so I'm sorry. So here right off the bat you can see it's not as much like of like the team celebrations. It's really going into like more specifics. That's Nico and Oyarzabal. But at the top it says the team lifts their 4th Euros more than anyone in a game that was opened by Lamine and Nico and closed by Oyarzabal after resisting the brief awakening of England. Like the brief that it kind of suggests that like England was sleeping a bit and then they woke up and they were playing, and then like they were able to endure that and go on to win the game. Sorry, when I like read Spanish, my brain starts getting jumbled and I can't think or speak in either language. So that's cool. This article basically like really deep dives into like the team and the history of Spain and England, and it talks about how Spain had a lot of talent and faith and how they continued their effort, and they actually scored shortly after Rodri came off, and that could have been a real turning point in the game because obviously Rodri was one of the best players for them, if not the best, and he was voted MVP of the tournament. So that could have been a massive blow for Spain, but they kept going through that. And then there's another whole bit about Oyarzabal here, obviously because he was the game winner. But the thing that I thought was interesting, they're obviously using Jude Bellingham's photo because he's massive in Spain, obviously one of the main players for Real Madrid, or the standout players for Real Madrid last season. So they're using him as like a player that people here are going to recognize, at least like that's my interpretation of it. And in this magazine, they really do more of a deep dive into England and what happened and like with the English team, whereas in the other newspaper it was more about celebrating Spain and Spain's win. So I'll just read you a little bit here. It said England's football didn't correlate to the optimism that the fans had, and that they defended well, but that the problems in the attack that they had were continuous throughout the tournament. So it talks about how they always went behind before scoring, and I thought that this was really interesting here, like these little bits here that are quotes, and it says los ingleses solo han jugado bien cuando se han visto con agua al cuello. So basically that they've only played well when they saw that they had water up to here, and that they weren't necessarily consistent throughout the whole 90-minute period. Like they went behind and then they started playing well, they equalized, and then it kind of fell back again. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting as well. It also talks a lot about Cole Palmer, which I found really interesting. So just translating as I'm reading, it says that he was like one of the biggest mistakes that Southgate made during this tournament, because every time that he went on the pitch, he was able to change the game. They said that the English press really wanted him to play ahead of Bellingham, who looked a little bit like tired maybe, but Southgate didn't dare to do that. So I thought that was really interesting as well. Something that I really liked in this was that it went through all of the players here and gave a little bit of information about each player and what they contributed in the Euros. So I'm not going to read all of them, but I thought I would do the interesting ones for the audience that I have. So obviously Marco Correa is there, and it says that he was a bet that paid off. He was intense in the moments that he had to go forward and put pressure on, like attacking wise, and then he was also able to get back quickly and run in order to help defend. It talks about Rodri, that he's probably the best midfielder or like center mid in the game right now, and he was one of the players that had the best passing percentage in the Euros. Obviously he was voted as the MVP of the Euros as well. And then here there's like a lot of bits about Alvaro Morata and how he captained the side, and even though he didn't necessarily contribute with many goals, just like the tenacity that he had, and like how he was like a focal point for Spain was massive. And then Lamine Yamal, who just turned 17 I think 2 days ago, was one of the stars of the tournament as well, and that he was voted the young player of the tournament. It goes into that crazy goal that he scored versus France and just what an impact he had on the team. And then also Dani Olmo, who I was super impressed with. The fact that Pedri got injured and then Dani Olmo just stepped up to the plate seamlessly and went on. I think he was the top scorer in the tournament, and that he had been coming back from an injury and he started getting better little by little, but then he was fundamental for Spain as well. And then it just goes into talking about the scenes, the party, everything. Everybody was going really crazy yesterday. Lots of cars honking, lots of, I don't know the name for it, like flares maybe is the right word, like flares going off, and just everybody obviously super happy as well. There's going to be a massive parade in the center of Madrid. I don't think I'm going to dare go because it's going to be very crowded, but yeah, it's really fun to be in Spain while this win is happening. Obviously I'm over the moon, and the Spanish people are over the moon, and it was a really good game. It was a very tight game of equal opponents, so I enjoyed it, even though I felt like I was going to have a heart attack during most portions of the match. But yeah, I hope that you liked this little insight into what the Spanish newspapers are saying after Spain's Euro final win. Let me know what you guys thought of the game, what your thoughts are in general. Hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this, and until next time, I'm out. Bye!